they use plant medicine to help them gain that connection with the spirit. What is your take on plant medicine and the use of it to get to that level of consciousness?
It's a complex question because, first of all, in Peru, ayahuasca was used, and other parts of Colombia, other parts of South America, it was used by shamans who are extremely well trained in dealing with the mindset of the campesinos, of the tribal people in those areas, and they served the tribes. And for the most part, it was the shamans who took the plant medicine on behalf of the clients, not the clients who took it. The shamans took it, and they were then able to see whatever demonic powers or thought forms were oppressing the person and remove them, and then help bring divine energy in. But a shaman was someone who was well trained for decades and apprenticed to another shaman and learned how to make use of the plant medicines properly. You come into the West with an entirely different psychic structure of the Western ego, very different than the tribal ego in South America. And that same medicine can have very different effects. It will help some people get to a higher state for a few hours, and believe they went through ego death, but it was a delusion. They come back and their egos are still there. It can have some people have mixed experiences where they have some super conscious elements come into their trip and some subconscious fantasies and delusions come in, and they will have they'll be more confused when they come out of it than they will be helped. You have others who have a latent psychotic fragment in their subconscious, and they will literally go psychotic and they won't come back.
Wow.
And I know people, I've worked with many people who have taken the plant medicines. I've also done them. I'm experienced in this. And I don't recommend it except in certain conditions where there is really an adept shaman who also is psychoanalytically trained, who understands who should take it and who shouldn't in the first place, and how to deal with bad experiences and how to deal with spirit possession that can sometimes happen, and other kinds of supernatural phenomena that most therapists don't know how to deal with and most shamans don't know how to deal with. And there can be a shattering of the psychic vessel of a person so that they can never come back together again, and they're destroyed for life. So, and even the people who are helped the most by ayahuasca, and I myself am in that category, you don't get liberation from it. You get a glimpse. The same with whether it's mushrooms or DMT in some other form, you get a glimpse of some higher dimensions, not the absolute reality. You get an intermediate plane where there are spirits in the plural, and some good, some not so good. And at best you will experience angels, and you'll encounter information from the Akashic records and other things that will help you in your life, but you won't achieve liberation. Spiritual liberation has to be done without drugs. It has to be done in a meditative state where it is your own will to transcend that is responsible for it, not some supplement that was artificial or temporary. It has to be something that then you can sustain. You have to turn nirvikalpa samadhi into sahaja samadhi, which means a level of samadhi that you never leave, that stays there even when you're in an ordinary waking state. You're always connected. You never lose your God consciousness. And without having done that, liberation is only a dream. It's not real yet.
It's just a taste.
Yeah.
A glimpse? Do you think they glimpse it? Well,
you can get a glimpse of higher states and of the potentiality of consciousness for its infinity and beauty, but you won't get liberated from the matrix. That won't happen. That has to be done through your own sadhana.
Yeah. To us, we've never done it. We've been around it for, it feels like a decade. So many people in our direct circles, you know, we went to Peru and we saw it being like commercialized.
That's unfortunately what's happening.
And sold to Westerners, and it made us sick while we were there. It was just like, to see it in like sign windows and things like this. Like, it was
causing
just
a lot of damage.
Oh my goodness.
To a lot of people.
And we've seen a lot of people at arm's length, like, come out not better. We've
No.
seen, there is always a story, you know, and I won't just focus on the negative, but there's a lot of people who claim that trauma was healed through it. There's a lot of, you know, addiction that is said to be reversed. So there, you know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a shaman.
There are some cases of that.
Of
I
course.
don't deny that either.
But it's just, it's so frightening to us to see, well, to see the damage. Like we've had one person in specifically go into a psychotic episode and point to us as his energy center to enact
Attack.
these terrible, like demonic and he never came back.
Yeah,
It never came back.
I understand.
So it's something we're very always curious to. And Juliana, at one of her teacher trainings, what was it that your teacher was saying about it being the fast track? Like,
well, it was very similar to what you're saying. I had a meditation teacher in India tell me the same thing, because somebody asked him, like, what is your thought on psychedelics and plant medicine? And he's saying that not only is that a fast track, but also it's very addictive, because people feel like, oh my gosh, I had a glimpse. I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to go back. And they keep, you know, taking it. And that, again, you're dealing with chemicals in the brain. Like that can't be safe.
No, it's not. And often you need higher doses, and your trips tend to get worse and worse. Your first ones may be beautiful, and then you start to get the demonic side of that vibrational frequency. And it's not a fast track to liberation.
right.
It's only a track to an intermediate level of consciousness. That's a dead end. So I don't recommend it.
The interesting thing, because you just mentioned trauma, and something I wanted to bring forward, because I do feel like a lot of people that have suffered through trauma and they haven't found a way to heal themselves, maybe they haven't had the right teachers or guides, they go to plant medicine, they go to ayahuasca because they think that's their answer to heal trauma. But now we were discussing here that it's not always the answer, may not be the safest way. What else would you recommend for somebody that is in that very difficult place in their life right now, that is looking for healing?
They need to be in an energy field that can contain them and accept the trauma. They need to experience truth. They need to experience divine love. And they need to experience an extraction from the ego into the soul, because the soul is not traumatized. It's only in the ego.
Right.
And so if one achieves soul consciousness, one can be relieved of the trauma. And if one deletes the ego program, the trauma is gone. But it has to be done in soul consciousness. And that can't be done on plant medicine. You're not able to do the processing in that.
Right.
And afterwards, you're too confused, or you're in a depleted state because of what the energy effect on the brain has been of it. So it's not the best way of doing it. Under certain controlled therapeutic conditions, it can be effective, I think, if you have somebody trained who knows how to use those medicines properly. But it can be done most safely, and we're designed to do it through meditation and through an intersubjective processing in which we feel safe again to love. Because it's usually that the heart is closed, and we are covered with defense mechanisms that have created aggression and paranoia and those things. And when we can release ourselves of those, the trauma is gone.
Right. How do you open the heart, though? How do you open yourself to love?
Well, that's why you have to be in a safe situation with someone who is liberated, or someone who is at least in soul consciousness, who can offer that divine love that's unconditional, without judgment, without projection, and enable you to gradually or quickly let go of the defense mechanisms and the negative beliefs about yourself and about the world, and then start fresh and be in that core of divine light that is never touched by trauma.